how do you ascertain what an organization truly is looking for? In other words, is there a strategy that an executive can implement to discover what the actual need of the company is? Because you might walk in with a sense of what your relative value is and tell a relative value story. But if it's not aligned, as I think Mark said earlier, with what the needed value is, then there's arguably no value. So, Sandra, you raise your hand. What would you like to add to this?
Executives have to go to market like a product, as if you had, let's say, some sort of SaaS software that is going to help, like we were talking about the other day, help these government agencies get through their permit faster for their clients. That particular software product isn't going to market itself to, let's say, a mom and pop grocery store in Indiana. So it is very important to understand that you have two sides to your job search. You've got the marketing side and you've got the sales side. Marketing's job is to get you in the door, to talk to them in the first place. Now, because of the level of investment you are, and you're not lower in the org chart, if you're not actually in front of the right stakeholders, if you're not actually in front of the companies that need, that particular software because they're a government agency, it doesn't matter what you say, you're not going to get the offer. It's too competitive and you're too expensive. They need to get the one they need. So marketing strategy is about making sure that you communicate that value proposition as a steering mechanism to actually get you in the right door. So the whole purpose of marketing you, and you really only have two channels to market yourself. One is your resume and two is your network. That resume must communicate your value proposition. And your network must communicate your value proposition, not a value proposition, not someone else's value proposition that you found on somebody else's resume or AI'd it, let's just say, but your specific, unique value proposition. That's one of the reasons we don't write a word on a resume until we've taken a deep dive into that person's unique value proposition, because the stakes are high for getting it right, because it is literally the steering mechanism to put you in front of those stakeholders, not any stakeholders, but the right stakeholders. So our strategy is, and the strategy you should adopt as an executive, is not drop a giant net and then try and figure out what they want and then start tap dancing around that, but rather to know your unique value proposition and then to get it communicated to put you in front of the right audience. And it's just so funny that that came up because we were talking about David earlier. And with the offer that David took, he actually interviewed at the company for a role that really wasn't right for him based on everything that he brought to the table. Because he had done the value proposition work, he didn't fall into the wrong strategy of just trying to be what they want, but rather took them on an education journey to explain the problem he really solves. And lo and behold, didn't the company say, well, we need to be doing that. We need to create this. And that's just the wonderful nature of how executives get jobs differently. The secret is communicating your value proposition. Then once you get in the door, once you actually get in front of stakeholders, there's a very simple way to get to the heart of the matter of their pain points, to figure out what is really going to flip them on. Now, you're already in front of the right audience because your value proposition got you there in the first place. And it's called asking the question. And a lot of the interview preparation we do, I mean, working with executives, there's not too many people that need help on communication skills or interview skills. but you interview as an executive differently. As an executive, the goal is to move the conversation away from yourself and everything that you've done and transition the conversation to them and what it is they're trying to make happen. And then once you start getting a clear understanding of their pain points, and that's part of what we do in interview coaching, is then you can start solutioning with them. Okay, so I made up a word, but anyway, so you can start walking through a solution. And at that point, they really have stopped trying to picture themselves in your past, and now they're picturing you in their future. And those people are usually always the people who get the offers.
Now, I would build on that and add due diligence. And it can be done at a number of stages. And you have to think about your time investment. Is this one that you really want to spend the time to do a bit of due diligence on? So I'm taking it out of applying for, Charles, or just what you read in the job description, because I won't get into this, but job descriptions are written for a variety of purposes. It doesn't necessarily communicate what the needs are and what the company is looking for, what their pain points are. And if you start to do a bit more due diligence, go on their website, look at their PR releases that they've done, their product releases, read about their values, look at a video of a CEO presentation. If it's a publicly traded company, look at the shareholder and information on that page, annual reports and so on. Google the company, find out what's in the media. Go to their competitors. I mean, what are the challenges in the marketplace about that company? Now
talk to consumers.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to consumers as well. Yeah.
Talk to people. Now let's flip that. And as you're networking your way, hopefully into that company before you formally apply, the nature of, I've done this, you're needing that, just like I was talking about the gentleman from Diageo, he had done that early stage penetrating a new market kind of work, but it wasn't evident in how he was presenting himself. So you're creating that alignment after you've done that due diligence. And then, as Sandra suggested, that all then gets translated into how you interview and how you handle the interview. But you look for that alignment first. How can I add value to this company? What do I bring based upon what I'm finding as their either needs for pursuing new opportunities or their needs for overcoming challenges that they may have?
Mark, I forgot about you.
Hey, oh, that's hard to do sometimes. So, I mean, I think everything that was said, and Harriet, you pointed it out very nicely. The only point I would add as an executive, you want to make sure you're positioning yourself where the company's going. So as a leader of an organization, just being where they're at today is insufficient. You want to be able to align with, and I think from some of the points Harriet pointed out, get a sense of where they're going. And then speak to that. Show up with an interview where you have prepared yourself to align your value to where they're going. And then be able to articulate that. You bring insight of saying, hey, based on what I've done and the questions I'm asking now, I see you're here and there's an important need to get there. Let me tell you, what I bring that helps organizations get from here to there. And when you position the future, again, that's differentiating. Most executives will focus on the here and now.